once we have the education, and we have the strong black minds, we need to pull them together. There hasn't been end-to-end black-owned communities since Black Wall Street or since the gentrification of Harlem. Like I have this tech company called STEM, right, that had the most successful launch in tech history with 80,000 STEM players as far as a first launch, right? We sold 80,000 STEM players back in February, and we went off the Apple platform, and now we're coming with the next generation that has a projector in it, and it's coming with 4,096 movies. I did that because my Amiga computer had 4,096 colors when I was in 7th grade. And also you can download films without having to use an Apple product. So I called this guy, and we're working on finishing up elements of the deal. And he's using emotional bullying, and like his shoulders are down, you could tell on the call. And he says, well, because of your comments, we're not gonna be able to hire people. It's the people that we need. And I said, well, how many people do we have working for us? He said 60, and we have 40 part-time. I said, well, how many Jewish people do we have? He said, well, I don't know. We have some. And I said, well, do we have black people working for us? He said, yeah. I said, how many? He said, 2. And I said, you're telling me we can't find 60 black engineers? Well, yeah. And see, that's where that comment that got me into so much trouble forced me to look at myself as the richest black man since Mansa Musa, right, with multiple tech companies. And where am I kicking the tires inside of my own company to ensure that I'm hiring my people? Because Chinese people hire Chinese people, and Jewish people hire Jewish people, and Catholics hire Catholics, right? But with blacks, we'll give our company to Bernard Arnault. We'll give our company to Mark Zuckerberg. We'll give our company away. And it would almost come off as anti-Semitic if I hadn't crossed that gun line so far to say, hey, I have to go and ensure that I'm hiring the brightest black minds to my black-owned tech company. You know, Kamala is our never again. We're never gonna just hand something over just because we like the way this person looks, and we have the emotional connection because she was a Delta and my mom was a Delta. She got 96% of the black female vote. You would have thought Drake was running, and we haven't seen her really honestly since. And I want to say something about the left. The left, you guys got to sit with me. Your current administration that these guys put up, they shit the pot on this one. They should have got Bernie, but Bernie had too much of a conscience. And so you got a guy with no conscience. Instead of getting Bernie Sanders, you guys got Weekend at Bernie's. And and you know that you don't like where we're at right now. So we got to have a conversation going in.
When you listen,
on how to just,
I won't disagree with you about. I don't disagree with you about President Biden or Kamala Harris, for that matter. Let me ask you about someone we haven't mentioned, Vladimir Putin, and what he's been doing in Ukraine. What is your view of that?
I do not believe in war, and I believe that there is ways that America could have avoided this war. But Biden has money. Biden has reasons for us to be at war right now for selfish reasons. And what I would like to do, without giving you too much information, I would like to speak with my political advisors to give you the exact information. I'm not gonna, hey, watch this one, Pierce. I'm not gonna shoot from the hip on this one, especially talking about war and things as sensitive as Ukraine and the Russian war. No, we already got that the RETARD comment earlier that maybe we could work on that I feel like is going to be massively offensive, and I really do. Now that one, I do apologize to people that I offended earlier in the interview on that comment. Maybe we could look at scrubbing that if we deem.
Well, actually,
if we'd like to.
I would say this:
yeah.
It's an uncensored interview. You said something which you've now wished you hadn't said, and you've apologized. I actually think that says a lot about you. Right? That shows you've got that ability to be self-aware, to understand when you cross a line. I think someone like you, with all your energy and creativity and your passion, you're going to say stuff. The way that you talk constantly and in such an extraordinary manner, you're going to trip up. You're going to say things the wrong way. I don't think there's anything wrong in when you do that, doing what you just did and saying, look, I'm sorry, I crossed the line, I apologize. It's actually quite empowering.
You know what I think? You know what I think I'll go ahead and do? I feel that I've given the platform, and I think by holding the idea of an apology hostage is not godlike.
Correct.
I feel like we have to free, and I think that's the point that you've been making. And because we sat down and had this conversation, I will say I'm sorry for the people that I hurt with the DEF CON, the confusion that I call. I feel like I cause hurt and confusion. And I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through, and that I use my platform where you say hurt people. And I was hurt. I was frustrated. I was frustrated that Gap hadn't opened stores. I was frustrated that I spent time with a gentleman who I love him, his wife, his kids, David Simon, and to open stores. And then he called Bob Martin at Gap and said, I'm not going to open the stores. And I've just been frustrated. I just want to open my Whittle stores. And I want to say that it's wrong to hold an apology hostage. And I got to let go of that and free myself of the trauma and say, look, I'm just going to give it all up to God right now and say to those families that I hurt, I really want to give you guys a big hug. And I want to, I say, I'm sorry for hurting you with my comments. And I want to word it in not in like a political way, but in a presidential way, which means what I knew a president to be when I was growing up, in a sincere way. You know how people give those kind of, I want to give an apology, and you're like, but did you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, no, it has to be, I want to go to every person's grandmother and grandfather and every person's son and daughter, aunt and uncle, and give them a hug and say, you know what? I've been hurt. And I do want you to talk to your boys. I do want you to talk to the people that are in power, the people who do own the black voice, the people who do own the vote, which a lot of Jewish business people do. And I want to be able to sit at the table with the contracts. I want my people to sit at the table with the contracts. I do want all of this, but I'm not going to hold my apology hostage till I get that. I'm going to start by taking accountability for my actions and the lack of sophistication in my wording. Like I said, I was sleepy, and it was taken in a way that I didn't mean to be taken. It definitely caused some attention. But I don't want the conversation to go away just because I came to you guys and said, I understand how I hurt you, and I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused and the confusion that I caused. Now, that is said, right? But I don't want the conversation to go away, that we are still in a place where these contracts are still up. My people are still getting screwed. This has to be opened up. And I'm not asking for a promise, but it would be a beautiful world as I release the pain that I've caused and the pain that I have in me, that grudge that I was holding, that you guys, some of you guys, 1, 2 of you guys step up and say, let's look at these contracts. Let's make it not be a known fact that the music industry is treacherous. Let's make because some of my kids do music. I don't want them to step into a treacherous place. I want it to be better for them than it was for me. So I want us to sit down and come together and really work on that. Would that make sense to you, Pierce?
You know what, Ye? If you'd simply said that in your tweet, I don't think there would have been any problem. And I'm very, very pleased, actually, that we've got to a place where you felt able to say that. And I think it was sincere. And
but we still have a problem. That's my point.
No,
Pierce.
I get it. But what you've now done, you've now explained the context of the problem. And you also issued a sincere apology to people who were rightly offended by the way you phrased what you said. So I think that's a good place to finish the interview. And I